Thank you, Dr. Abla. We have three groups. We have a group that we are going to consider representative of private sector, representative of implementing entities, the government, and we have a group that represents the parliament, the legislators. So I'm going to listen to Mr. Hani as an economist and as an expert from the private sector. And the question now, where is the problem? The private sector employees. So talk to us from this perspective. Here today with two hats. The FDI, one of the hats. Of course, we have problems with the FDI that cannot be delinked from the technical education. It decreases and it deteriorates. The problems are known: lack of lands, lack of utilities, lack of fuel and gas, electricity, in addition to the interventions of the government, the lack of the quality of the of the workers. So we are at the bottom with respect to the quality of the workers and the skilled workers. I'm close to Africa, but we have a strategic position, but we do not have any skilled workers. So this goes in vain. Based on this, we talk about the demand of the private sector. It is limited. The investment now is we have high rates of interest, so this is an obstacle to the investment. Who everything is obstructed. People pay money either in real estates or in certificates. And I listened to somebody who mentioned that Damietta in the past was something very prestigious. Today, half of Damietta is of cafes because people invest in these things. They do not invest in businesses or in FDI. So today we are here. I have an institution that I developed that's called Basirti for Development. It was established specially to fund training. It's affiliated to the Social Solidarity. It's non-profitable and it is destined to train to fund the technical training. We went to the Maritime Academy in Alexandria. They have something similar to the photos that we saw with Dr. Abla, something state of the art. So we developed a protocol that we were going to sign today for training. They bring people to be trained and we participate in the funding so that those trained are with high quality. I have always wanted to train people from Upper Egypt so that they can go and work there. So today I call upon the industrial people and the businessmen, those who have needs in any sector, in electricity, in mechanics, in carpentry. We have an accreditation from Pearson, the biggest German accrediting entity. Kids have courses or get courses to satisfy the needs of the labor market. So it's demand driven. The factories are going to ask me for 6, for example, with these certain skills. We have funding entities as well, especially in the phase 2. those who have finished courses and want to have their own startups, a carpentry workshop or mechanics. So we have a fund to fund them. So we have this institution, Madam Naira, Mrs. Naira, can give you our contacts, and we have Amr Mahdi, the executive director, and we are going to be open to any businessmen who need uh, those trained workers or students. Thank you, Engineer Hani. I'm going to comment on the fact that the problem is not only about the investment but with the employment. So to link between the investment and the employment, this is something that's going to contribute to the development. This is the idea that I have concluded. The second thing I concluded is how to integrate the private sector into the development process, to have institution and support and fund. This is something complementary. We're going to move now to one of the biggest institutions of the private sector, Al-Araby Group, and they have a pioneering experience in this field, that we are not going to wait for the government, we are going to work on our own. Dr. Alaa, you have the floor.
السلام عليكم. أنا أختلف مع بعض من
I disagree with some of you with respect to the pessimistic vision that you have on the technical education. I am so much optimistic. The first thing, I have taken notes and I found out that most of the problems are limited to the social image, social perception, with respect to the technical education. Personalities, as Dr. Hussein Badrawi has mentioned, the distances between the working venues and the residences, so many things, trainings. In Germany, it's training for employment. Here, it's not that case. But I think that lately, Dr. Tariq Shitwi, Dr. Mohamed Mujahid, and Ms. Habiba have done or have solved big part of the problems that we are facing. That has to do with the applied technology. You have to know some information on the applied technology. The first school that was opened is the Al-Araby School for Applied Technology. It took all the privileges and advantages of the technical education, of the dual system, all the advantages of the TVET, of the Mubarak School, because we worked, the Arabic group worked in all these projects, and this is the only group that works with TVET 1, with Mubarak School. We have a school for applied technology. It works on 4 pillars. The first pillar, that's students. We select students according to some examinations, with some interviews. We select them with good health. We do not depend only on the preparatory score because it's fake. This is in my opinion. The score they get in preparatory examinations is fake. When we examine 1,500 fail, this is unfair. So we conduct further examinations and interviews. The same thing applies on the teachers. Teachers need to be trained, so we select good teachers. Then the curriculum. We have selected the curriculum that's based on competences. We cannot adopt any curriculum that's not based on competences. So ECES or applied technology schools are competency-based curriculum schools, and all the equipment Al-Araby school has educational classes and workshops in addition to training the students in companies or factories. In Japan, there are classes and who are trained only in the factories. But we have as well engineering, drawing classrooms. These are photos of one department. Thank you, Dr. Abla, because you have mentioned the fact that technical education without private sector is not going to develop. Because applied technology, I congratulate the Ministry of Education uh, who is giving it for free. 11 schools, and the ministry has not gained any fees. We have 11 schools. So, for example, Arabic school, its cost is 55 million EGP. So I congratulate the Ministry of Education for not taking any fees from the students. Not going. I'm going to train the students for 3 years, so I'm keeping the job for them. I covered them the job opportunity. With respect to residents, I'm not going to get the students from far away. So I'm going to get them from close areas. These are photos for the students wearing the safety and security tools, and they use the materials, these materials on daily basis, just to make them understand the sensitivity of their job. You are male biased, as Dr. Alaa has said, that we are going to include the females. And I would like to thank the study that was conducted. We got very beneficial information, and we can identify proposals as well or recommendations to improve the educational system. Each group, or TVET, Mubarakul, dual system, applied schools, sustainable development, any of these projects and programs all over Egypt, as long as they are serving technical education, I consider them very beneficial, and we will support them. And thank you so much, Dr. Abla, Dr. Alaa. Thank you, Dr. Alaa. And of course, we are proud of what you do. And I can take a conclusion from what you have said, especially with respect to the fact that we have to be optimistic and we have to take initiative even if there are some problems and challenges. We have to cooperate together to take the initiative and to be proactive, and this is a great model for us to follow. And you have mentioned the TVET, so I'm going to move to Miss Sherouk Zidan. She's one of the implementing partners. We sat with the ACES with with respect to this study, so I agree with what you have said. One of the biggest problems that we face is that there is no one entity that regulates the technical education process or the TVET system. We have 25 ministries, governmental entities that work only on the TVET, and thus each and every ministry sees that it's following the correct methodology and sees that this is the base, that this is the correct manner to have skilled workers and that we can fill in the current gap of the investment. And then we can find out that the state signs protocols. So on which basis we have conducted such protocols, for example, establishment of certain training centers without having a clear plan on how these training centers are going to be used by the public entities. Because when I talk about training centers with certain protocol and other training centers that are multinational, the average cost for one student or for the worker is not less than 50,000 EGP. So which ministry is going to pay these costs? So we have to have clear methodology and a clear plan, and based on that we have to find the funding or the supporting entities and study which part they are going to support. I'm going to give the example of the education, or Ministry of Education, because we have been working this way for a year. We worked with the Ministry of Education, and we know that there is something called the Strategy for the Technical Education 2.0, and with the other granting entities. So we started to see, okay, as a granting entity GIZ or the USAID, what they are doing and how we can complement their work. Because this is the only program that's supported by the government of Egypt with a grant of more than 65%. And thus, we are trying to complement this system. So we develop important legislations, and these legislations, when we develop them in cooperation with all the different stakeholders, competent entities, private sector, and we started to discuss it with parliamentarians from different sectors, so that when we present something or offer something, so it's something implemented. We have sector skills councils, and how we so to make sure that the private sector is engaged from the beginning, not in the middle. And we are required to have
for labor market. If we want to do so, then who's going to host this? Who will organize this? Or who will implement this? That's why we work with line ministries in order for them to be the implementing partners, and we started the studies to follow up on that, to stop the stigma, to improve the public perception. I don't want to talk for long. So we are working hard in different tracks, but all these efforts are fragmented with no coordination, rendering the initiatives fruitless. So we need coordination and we need to add an institutional character to these efforts. Thank you so much, Ms. Sherouk. Let me focus on the highlights. Centralization is to be taken into consideration, and we don't have a coordinating body, whether among the different government bodies or with the private sector, in order to avoid duplication or to avoid having many blind spots. So we need to work in a coordinated manner if we want to move forward. Now let's go to the representative of the government, Dr. Mohamed Emara. The proposal or the perspective of the Ministry of Education. In the name of God, at the outset, I would like to thank the Center. Based on the survey they designed and conducted, and based on the 4D road map, I can say a lot. Dr. Abla said that the survey took 2 years, and I can say, or I can ask, what is the problem and what have we been doing since March? The problem with TVET is that the curricula is not in line with the job market, which is correct to some extent. Because some specializations are in line with the job market needs. So graduates are not qualified to work, and the industry cannot use his skills, which means that the resources are wasted. We have 2 solutions: either to blame ourselves or to reform. Remember, in Article 20 of the Constitution, we have some focus on competitives, and also the President said that we should establish a body to ensure the quality of TVET, and we should also establish a professional academy for TVET teachers. The Ministry of Education, with development partners including WISE, TVET, GIZ, started to work together to design a strategy based on a set of pillars. What are these pillars and what do we do? First, improve the quality of technical education. We need to have an authority to make sure that the programs we run are designed and taught as it should be. Some technical schools ask to be certified and accredited by NACA. Second, review of curricula to be competency-based. And since time immemorial, we should focus on knowledge, skills, and attitude. So here we are only adding market-driven competencies. So previously we used to form a committee of university professors to design school curricula. Now things have changed. We have a methodology in cooperation with international experts and local experts, and with the help of TVET program. We have a methodology of 12 stages. For any program to be approved, it should cover these 12 stages. 6 stages involve and engage the job market. So the new programs will be in line with the job market, and we have this documented. That's why now we have a unifying framework. I think a year ago I attended one of the conferences that was held, and some people told us you have different frameworks, you have different methodologies when it comes to designing curricula. This is not the case anymore. We have one unified policy and one governing framework. After changing the programs and the curricula in order to answer the question, what does the student do? Not only what does the student know. And we need to make sure that this is evidence-based, that we have a portfolio to be evaluated. We have evaluators and assessors, whether internal or external. Since March, we have developed 36 programs. Most importantly, I need to refer that the Ministry of Education feels that it owns the process. So we did not ask the help of university professors and experts. We had people who are technical students. We also held 140 meetings with employers. And we started the pilot phase in 105 schools nationwide. Why so? Because we cannot implement in all the schools. We need to start piloting and identifying the challenges first. We are not also targeting curricula without training teachers. That's why we have 50 training tool kits with the Academy for Professional Teachers, and 150 teachers were trained. And these people got training, around 4,000 teachers. The training program ran for 4 or 5 days at least. In cooperation with TVET, we held 23 workshops to launch the new programs. A 2-day workshop bringing together everyone in the school to be on the same page. We have 600 internal and external evaluator. All this started in March 2019. Of course, teachers have developed their own schools, and we hope that we can establish a professional academy for TVET teachers. I'd like to invite all the investors, especially those who need skilled labor, to help us in this Technology Academy or in the Council for Developing Human Resources to help us in these applied technological schools. Because we want to change the stereotype affecting technical students. We want the society to be aware of what we do. And I told Sherouk on Sunday or on Monday that our work is enough and the results will speak about themselves. But no, now today I got the feeling that we need to care for publicity, because since 2004 and 2005 we engaged development partners to work on creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and this is part now of the school plan in the 105 schools. through a curricula that is accredited by the Professional Academy of Teachers. As for training, we do not depend only on applied technological system or dual educations. We have programs for hospitality, agricultural and industrial students were trained in hotels, and that was a big achievement to send our female students to this hotel, to stay in a hotel or in a farm, to simulate the work environment. This is very, very impressive. Sorry, we need to conclude. Okay, I will try to be fast. The GIZ helps us and work with the Ministry of Manpower. We have an information system on the job market in order to understand the professions in high demand. Of course, it's not on par with what Dr. Abla presented, but we know what to work on. As for the legislative framework, we are working on amending pieces of legislation in order for some flexibility to be there in this landscape. And our colleague, the member of the parliament, said that the red tape is a barrier. Yes, it's a red tape, and sometimes there are barriers. Thank you so much. Some thought I was nervous or on the defensive side, but no, I'm just so keen to improve TVET. Thank you, Dr. Emara. I will try to focus on the main points. You have a future vision and you acknowledge the existing situation, and I'm glad that a representative of the ministry is aware of the existence of a problem and of the shortcomings. And for this to be coupled with a future vision, then we are doing great. I think the starting point is always to identify the problem. So I would like to thank you for that. And after we conclude the session, we will watch a video by Dr. Mohamed Megahed explaining a detailed vision of the ministry. Dr. Mohamed will cover some details. It's a must-see video. Now let's move to lawmakers. Dr. Laila Abu Ismaeel. First of all, I want to know more about the framework. Thank you so much for the kind invitation. I'd like to thank the Egyptian Center, because in the parliament we make laws and we should regulate and supervise the situation. And I am the secretary of the education committee. So I'm a bit optimistic and pessimistic. I can see the full cup. Whenever I go to my district in Al-Araby, I represent Al-Araby, and of course Al-Araby is a great place for textiles, but there are some labor-related problems. There are many vacancies that are not filled, and some people come to ask me for jobs, and whenever I refer them to factories, they would say, no, the pay is so little. People are not serious, and they are not highly trained, as you know, and as you know, 50% of the population would rather work as tuk-tuk drivers or spend their time sitting on cafes. They don't have a sense of hope. Whenever I go to visit schools, I went to an industrial school and an agricultural school before. Last year was the very first time, and it was horrible. The visits were horrible. Sorry to say so. It was shocking. It was scary. This school has been the same for more than 50 years. 4,000 graduates each year, and these people cannot afford to get a training. And they suffer a lot when it comes to dealing with teachers, with workshops, for example, in the livestock sector. I might go to places where the sewage system is broken and people cannot use the farm, for example. Also in the school, or the schools are understaffed. Yes, people there are trying to work hard and to address the problem. Sometimes they even collect money to employ a cleaner or an office boy. But it's all like self-funded. But for me, it was catastrophic. The principal of the school went to clean the bathrooms herself. So I wrote a letter, and I would like to give Dr. Megahed credit for being so responsive. He came to see things firsthand, and we received the support of 5 million AGP. No one believed that such a school would be considered. So sometimes we need to shed the light on the problematic aspect, and in line with the available resources, people responded. Teachers are very happy. Now we have new areas opened, new labs to be used, or old labs to be renovated. So we don't want to do these people a disservice. We need to do them justice. We need to give them their credit. We've been ignoring TVET for 60 years, and we've been viewing them in a very negative light for so long. So now I'm a bit optimistic that people change their own perceptions. So towards nursing, for example, girls would like to join nursing schools, and the demand is really high. So some husbands would prefer now to be married to nurses. So parents would borrow money to let their girls enroll in a nursing school in Cairo. So the perception or the stigma is no longer the same as it used to be. So the culture has changed. There is a sense of hope, because in the education's committee we issued the technological university decree. So people graduating from technical schools can go to university to get a bachelor degree. So we opened 3 universities, one in New Cairo, one I think in Ismaeel, Bani Suef, and another one in Owesna. And there is another plan to start 7 or 8 universities. Also, the Ministry of Higher Education are working really hard. So yes, there are shortcomings, but the executive organ is working very hard. So based on my experience with the Minister of Higher Education, I said that Owesna University want to be accessible. So he told me, but you don't have land in your own governorate. So I started to search for land or for vacant centers, and I tried to contact the Minister of Housing to see if we can transfer the asset and get a plot of land to build a technological university. But of course, it takes time, as you know. Thank you so much, Dr. Laila. Let me focus on the main highlights. Challenges are there. Thank you for acknowledging the challenges, but the parliament is praising the efforts of the government, and she said that we are lawmakers, but we are also regulators and supervisors. And she said we're satisfied, yes, but not 100%. I have to be honest. We praise on the positive and we criticize the negative. So that's praiseworthy and that's trustworthy. Your role is very important. Last but not least, Ms. Manal Maher, I would like to hear your input from a legislative point of view rather from a regulator or supervisor.
Good evening. I would like to thank Dr. Abla for the study. The study is marvelous. I have spent 10 years interested in technical education, and lately I have reviewed the TVET studies, and they have common bases and they have touched the real problems. But allow me to tell you, time waits for no one. The problem is, as Dr. Hosam Badrawi has said, that that in 2005 he had studies and they were spectacular as well, and the studies of Tibet as well very good, and the study of Dr. Amla, but we still awaiting the implementation. I want to know when we are going to start the implementation. I owe, of course, this for His Excellency the Minister, because he told me this phrase that the time waits for no one, that South Africa has overcome us and India as well. So many countries overcome us, and despite the fact that we have good studies, that's because we have not started to implement anything. The second thing, we do so many beautiful things, but without any sustainability, and we do not complete what we start. Allow me to tell you that, and I'm going to thank some people that are not with us. I would like to tell you somebody like Amal Muafi from the ILO, like Ahmed Mamdouh from GIZ, like Atif Malak from Mubarak Kool Wise. These people have left their prints in this field. And Mahal Gindi from the AUC as well. There were so many efforts exerted but not completed. For example, we have job descriptions for so many jobs. Now, where are these job descriptions in the drawers? Why people are not using it? TVET has competency-based systems for so many occupations, and this is something needed. Technical workers now do not know what to do, so they go and get the tuk-tuk and drive it. They sometimes want to work as something, but they do not know what are the skills required for this thing or for this occupation, what is its career path, what are the competences needed. There is a lack of awareness and there is a lack of the necessary information, and I think that this is one of the biggest disadvantages. Third thing, the password to reach 2030 is the technical workers, the technical labor. To have social development, economic development, we have to rely on the technical labor because it's the biggest resource that's able to increase competitiveness and productivity and activate the rest of the resources. I cannot manufacture a jewelry if I do not have a school for that. I cannot make use of the resources unless I have the labor, the technical labor who is going to do this. And Dr. Fikri Abdul Wahab mentioned the fact that there are some factories for cars and for foreign investment. When they come to Egypt, they start to search for skilled workers. They cannot find them, and so they leave. And thus, we have two problems. Not only the culture of the job, but as well the value framework that governs the Egyptian laborers. I'm not going to talk a lot because you have covered most of the points, but I just want to say that we need to guarantee sustainability at the level of the policies. Who is going to adopt the good policies that we have developed? What is the next step? This is the most important thing because we all the time produce good papers, studies, policies, and I have a library specialized in the researches of the technical education. But nobody makes use of them. The solutions are there. But what about activating the solutions, implementing them? Three quick examples with respect to the sustainability of policy making, how to have a policy that I monitor and evaluated regardless of the minister that's occupying the ministry now. I have a mechanism to guarantee the sustainability of the policies, whether the minister who developed it is there or not. It has to be the policy of the state. The second thing, the financial sustainability. This is the second most important element after the policies because so many times we have the intentions but we do not have the funding. I personally was in the USA. I had a friend and she wanted to go to her work, and we were specialized in small enterprises, and she was working in technical education. She took me to a center that's more beautiful than the Singapore center. The key success of its success is its financial sustainability mechanism. Everything, all the equipment necessary for technical training were there. Makeup experts are there. Hairdressers, males and females, drillers, plumbers, AC technicians, they were all there. The caterers, to have trained cadres in all these fields. All the services are provided against money, and this money is destined to fund the sustainability of this center. And it's known that the services are paid with low costs because this is a center for the trainers, and the trainers as well get low salaries because they are still trainees. So it's as if the services are subsidized, and but this revenue is destined to funding the center. I think this is a sustainability mechanism. In Sohag, the mechanical school in Sohag is very well equipped, but it's not used. I found an equipment to detect the to detect the faults of the cars, and it is very expensive, but nobody was using it. So what if I start to use it and make use of it as a resource for the school to train the students on using this machine or this equipment, and to engage as well the public and generate fees. Allow me, Tariq, to thank last person, Omar Safieddin Ejik. He decided to establish an institute for the plumbers. He works in the tubes, so he has a factory for the tubes. Who deals with it? The plumbers. So he started to develop an institute for the plumbers to raise their capacities to know an English language and etiquette or ethical behavior. And I found out that there are more than 200 plumbers with their specific stories, people who went to Germany, who got back and started to be trainers, and he started to adopt one of the street children to teach them the profession, and they give them social insurance, health system, healthcare system, and they have now more than 6,000 plumbers all over Egypt. So here we have a role model with high quality, with high competence, with sustainability mechanism, but we do not take it as a role model. We do not disseminate them. Up till now, we have a problem with the exchanging the success stories. Each one is working on isolated islands, in scattered islands. We have been working on this for more than 15 years. At the same time, the problem is getting aggravated. It's not getting resolved. After introducing the ARB1, ARB2, it's getting deteriorated as well. Because sometimes not all the interventions benefit. TVET, I think it's a big opportunity. Have we benefited from it? TVET has a state budget, but by the end, the management is good. But to what extent the Egyptian government is going to introduce it or to make use of it? Make we benefit from the resources that we have. The hope that we continue implementing the policies that we develop, regardless of those who occupy the position of the ministers. Guarantee sustainability of the train. How to develop mechanisms to make the educational environment an attracting environment. I'm going to stop here.